Hey guys, welcome back. So today's video is going to be a book favorites video. I did one of these in the beginning of the year and you guys seem to really love it, so I wanted to do an updated one because I love to read. I'm always reading and you guys seem to like my suggestions. So before we get started, I will say that all of the books I'm going to talk about are fiction. So I mentioned in a video previously that I wanted to get into, podcasts and more like non-fiction kind of self-help books, and I couldn't really get into reading them. Like, they just weren't holding my attention. So I recently started to listen to them and I feel like that's helped me a lot more. I don't like to listen to fiction books, but I do like to listen to, motivational books and things like that. So this video is going to be sponsored by Audible. And if you guys haven't heard of Audible, basically they have audiobooks, podcasts, things like that that you guys can listen to if you're not into, traditional reading. So the book that I'm listening to right now is called I'm Judging You by Lovey something, can't remember, but it's funny and I like listening to it when I'm doing like mindless things like cleaning or like doing my hair or something. But if you guys are interested in signing up for Audible, go to audible.com/stephanieledda or text stephanieledda to 500-500. Then you guys can get 30 days for free and a free audiobook. Now we're gonna get into the books that I have read in my mind. Okay, so the first book is called Bring Me Back by B.A. Paris, and this one is about a couple, Finn and Lola, and they are on a trip one night and they pull over to a rest stop and Lola just disappears, like she goes missing. Nobody ever finds her. So years later, Finn actually ends up engaged to Lola's sister Ellen. They kind of found each other in the moment of grief, so they're together, but now that he's with Ellen, he's always just kind of comparing her to Lola and just feels like something isn't right, like he doesn't love her the same way. So then one day somebody tells Finn that they've seen Lola somewhere and he's just thinking that can't be possible, but then all of a sudden he starts like getting these little hidden clues and messages that could only be from Lola. So he starts to wonder like if she could really be alive and out there, but what would he do because now he's with Ellen? And yeah, the whole book is kind of crazy and there's like a major twist, so definitely check that out. I love her other books by B.A. Paris. Every other book that I've read from her I'm obsessed with, so if you haven't read any others from her, definitely check them out. I think they're called Behind Closed Doors and The Breakdown. Those are both really good also. So next up is a book that's more of a love story. It's called The Idea of You by Robin Lee, and this one is good. So basically the story is about a woman named Celine. She takes her daughter to meet her favorite boy band, and just so happens when she meets the lead singer of August Moon, the band, they instantly kind of make a connection and are a little bit flirty. The thing is though, is that he is like 20 years younger than her. His name is Haynes. So the book follows them as their relationship gets more serious and less secret. Her daughter finds out, the rest of the world, the paparazzi finds out, and then you have to see how they deal with it or how they don't deal with it, and what becomes of their relationship after it becomes like this public thing. So that's a good one. Definitely a lot different than a lot of the other books that I've read, but I really like how it's told from like an older woman, not like an old woman, but like an older person's perspective, dating a younger man. It's very interesting. So then the next book is called The Last Mrs Parish by Liv Constantine, and this is about two women, Amber and Daphne. So Daphne basically has this perfect life. She's rich, she's beautiful, she's married to this perfect man named Jackson, and then there's this girl Amber who doesn't really have much going for her, and she wants to change that. So one day Amber meets Daphne, she befriends her, she completely submerses herself in Jackson and Daphne's life, with her main goal being Jackson. She wants to replace Daphne. She wants to be the next Mrs. Parish, and she will do whatever it takes to get that. So the story is told by each of them in their own separate point of view, and then at the end it's kind of both, and yeah, there's a big twist at the end and it's super good. So the next book is called November 9th by Colleen Hoover, and ever since I read this book, I'm obsessed with her writing. Like, I'm just obsessed. So this is more of like a love story, and I wasn't really thinking that I was gonna love it so much because when I read love stories, I just feel like real life is just terrible and it sucks. But anyways, this is about a girl named Fallon who grew up like a child actress, and her life and her career was about to really just take off, and then she's in this terrible fire that burns like her face and her body, and, you know, she loses her career because nobody wants to, you know, hire her now that she has all of these scars all over her body. So obviously after that, her life is never the same, and one day she makes the decision to move across the country. And the day before she leaves, she meets this guy, Ben, and they instantly have this connection, kind of like a love at first sight thing, but she's not going to give up on, you know, her goals to move across the country and start over just for this guy she just met. So they agree to meet up every year on November 9th and have no communication the rest of the year. Like none whatsoever. They are just going to meet up on November 9th for 5 years until they're, I think, 22 or 23, and, you know, see where their lives are at that point. So it's such a good story, and I don't know, it's so good. You just have to read it. It sounds like kind of corny or like cliche or something, but it's actually really, really good, and I just loved it. I loved that book so freaking much. Then another book by Colleen Hoover that I loved is called It Ends With Us. This is another kind of love story. It's about a girl named Lily. She has this terrible relationship with her father. He was abusive to her mother. So one day he dies, and on the night of his funeral, she meets this guy named Ryle, and he's this gorgeous surgeon who is, you know, against relationships. So obviously down the road she keeps running into him, and the two are just drawn to each other. So they fall in love and they have this perfect relationship, but she always just kind of wonders, like, why was he so against relationships? So as she's like questioning her relationship, she slowly starts to get little subtle hints as to maybe why he is this way. And then her first love from her past comes out of nowhere. She runs into him, and then she starts questioning her relationship even further. And then, you know, there's a twist. There's always a twist. So that's a good one. And then the next one is called Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter, and I have mentioned some of her books before. I think she is an awesome writer, storyteller. I will say that a lot of her books are a little bit more graphic, with like violence sometimes, so, you know, just be wary of that if you're like a little bit of like a chicken and you're not into that. So this is a story about mother and daughter. Andrea and her mother have spent their whole life in the small town living a, you know, simple and quiet life, or so she thinks. She knows that she has. So then one day the two are part of this tragic shooting, and the way that Andrea's mother responds to the situation makes her question everything she's ever known about her mom. Like, who is this woman? What is she capable of? What is happening? So after the shooting, her mother just turns completely cold, pushes her away, shuts her out, and then Andrea has no choice but to go out and figure out who her mother really is. And it's not the person that she thought she was. So it's really good, but like I said, it's kind of graphic in some of the violence. Then the next book is called The Cellar by Natasha Preston, and this is kind of like a creepy book. It kind of reminds me of the book The Lovely Bones, or the movie if you ever saw it. It just has like a little bit of a creepy, like scary movie kind of vibe. So this book is about a girl named Summer. She's 16 years old, and one night she vanishes without a trace in her hometown. So she is kidnapped in a white van and dragged down into this basement by this creepy guy, and when she gets into the basement, she sees that there's other girls there, and these other girls are super weird, and they're all just kind of like these like little Stepford wives. So she's down there with these girls, and she's trying to figure out how long they've been down here. Why aren't they trying to get out? And the whole book, she's trying to not become like these girls because she wants to get out. She has a boyfriend and a family, and she needs to get out of this basement. So basically the whole book is whether she and these other girls are going to make it out of the basement alive. So like I said, it's a little bit creepy, but it's good. It's good. And then the last book I wanted to mention is The Alice Network. I wanted to mention this because A, it's good, and B, it's a different genre than the others. This is like a historical fiction. I have talked about in the past that I love like World War II based fiction books. I don't know, something about that era I just love reading about. So this book is about a young girl named Charlie. She's a American girl and she's young and she's pregnant, and she ends up in Europe searching for her cousin that she hasn't heard from since the end of World War II. So she ends up in Europe and she is told that this one lady might be able to help her find her cousin. So the woman's name is Eve. She's like this old, haggard, drunk and bitter woman who supposedly has like this connection to her cousin somehow. So Eve was a spy during the First World War in what was called the Alice Network, and she basically now lives with this guilt that she was able to make it out alive of the First World War. So now that they have found each other, Eve and Charlie, they set out on hopes to find out the truth about what has really happened over the years. So it's a good book, and if you're into World War II fiction, I think you would definitely really like it. So that's gonna wrap up the list of book favorites. I have read a lot more, but these are the ones that really stuck out to me that I really enjoyed and wanted to recommend to you guys. Right now, I am almost done reading One Day in December. It's super good so far. I started it like 2 days ago, and I'm almost finished, so please do not spoil the ending for me. If you do, you're dead to me. Goodbye. Kidding, but not really. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed my book favorites video. I'm going to make myself a new cup of coffee because I was planning on drinking it. Now it's freaking cold. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this book favorites video. Let me know if you guys like this kind of video or what other, you know, non-beauty videos you would like to see from me. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.
This is how I always pose when I read my books. Casually book reading pose. Get my read on. I've never actually read this book.